Agate Blade Assassin. 1 and a black for a Lizard Assassin 1/3. Whenever Agate Blade Assassin attacks, defending player loses a life and you gain a life. Uh, I mean, if you're getting a bunch of other payoffs from all the gain a life synergy that we've seen from white black, like
Then it's a
I'm
C.
running it, then it's a C. But otherwise, it's a D
Yeah.
plus.
I wish it was like if it attacks and blocks, then it would be pretty good. But yeah. Yeah, you need a lot of reasons to care about these activations, I think, for it to be playable.
Yeah.
Bandit's talent. Here's the bandit class. 1 and a black. When it ETBs, each opponent discards 2 cards unless they discard a non-land card. Okay. So either 2 lands or any non-land is basically what that means. Pay 1 black at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep. If that player has 1 or fewer cards in their hand, they lose 2 life. That's pretty good in the late game.
Yeah.
Because it's upkeep. So they would need 2 before their draw step. Yeah. Also, the rare use of the word upkeep. They really don't print those anymore. At the beginning of your draw step, draw a card. So this costs 4. Draw an additional card for each opponent who has 1 or fewer cards in their hand. That's the beginning of your draw step. Yeah. So they do have a draw, but then they can't basically play it. This card might be good enough because the passive loss of life, along with like guaranteed eating their hand of a spell or 2 lands, it's definitely not as good as just the straight up discard 2, but also only cost 2.
Yeah.
There's no telling if this is good enough or not.
I think it's a C, but I think it might be a C plus.
It's a grindy card. Yeah, I agree. I kind of want to. I'm not starting by playing it. I'll tell you that much. I want to have to feel that one out. All right, you're good.
Bonebind Orator, 1 and a black for a Squirrel Warlock Ard, and it's a 2/2. Pay 3 and a black. Exile Bonebind Orator from your graveyard. Return another target creature from your graveyard to your hand.
Instant speed.
Oh, add instant speed.
I wonder if we're going to see Zenergies in black, which we haven't been calling out the beginning of colors, by the way. But I wonder if we'll see some Zenergies in black and green that cares about things leaving your graveyard as like a way to Zenergize with Forage, but then this could also potentially trigger twice. Because
I think this is good.
Yeah, it's a 2/2 for 2. That then gets back your Stronger Throwing Late at instant speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're putting things in your graveyard, so you're getting toward threshold. You're also providing something.
This is getting stuff out of your graveyard. What do you mean? This is taking stuff out of your graveyard. It's not putting things in your graveyard.
I know, but like if you care about threshold, you can use this to get closer to threshold, and then later still bring something back. Even if you're bringing something back.
This doesn't. How does this get you closer to threshold? It's just the 2/2 for 2. It doesn't get you closer to threshold than anything else.
If you use it as a blocker, like if it dies.
Sure. As any 2/2. Like this doesn't. If anything, this is anti-Zenergy for threshold.
I'm saying you don't care about this getting into the graveyard early.
Yeah.
If you're trading something off with it. Cool.
Yeah. I would just say generally this is anti-threshold.
Sure.
Generally. Because it takes 2 cards out of your graveyard.
But the reason I didn't... I'm saying, especially in the decks that care about threshold, you're wanting to get there as fast as possible, and it's going to be later in the game that you're using this for 4 at speed.
Yep.
And it might not matter at that point.
Yeah. I think it's like a C+. It's just like a great 2-drop. Okay. It's a 2-drop that like draws the best card out of your graveyard later for 4 mana and instant speed, which is just good.
Yep.
Bone Cache Overseer. 1 black mana for a Squirrel Warlock 1/1. Tap, pay a life, draw a card. What? Activate only if 3 or more cards left your graveyard this turn, or if you sacrifice the food this turn. So either you forage, basically you forage. Either way you forage, and you get to pay a life and draw a card. But also, this one gets 2 things out of your graveyard, so you're 1 away to triggering it. That's funny. I was just talking about things being removed from your graveyard's energy, and here we go. How much forage do you have to have in your deck before this is playable? How many?
A lot.
5, 6, 7?
At least 5.
5.
And even then, I think that's questionable.
Yeah, it's hard to know if this is worth a turn.
It's
or worth a card.
It's pretty good. I don't know. I think it's for sure worth it. If you are hard into it, I think this is good.
Yeah, it's very good if you're hard into it. Like if you have the 2-drop that makes 2 foods, and then
it's like nuts if you're hard. If you turn 1 play this and you're hard into it,
and then the 2
this
drop.
is gonna be annoying, honestly, because like when you see this in a game, you're gonna be like, whatever, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, I have to remove this now.
So from what we've seen already, the smoothest draw of this on 1, and then on 2, the 3/2 that makes a food when it ETBs and dies, and then on 3, the gluttonous swirl or whatever, the 2/3 that can immediately forage to be a 3/4, right? So like you've not used any creatures. You have a 3/2 that still dies into a food, and now a 4/3, and you've drawn a card from this. Like that's 2 uncommons.
That's oppressive.
Yeah, but that's very good. So this is like maybe a build around like B or B minus, but it's a deep build around. It's a deep build around.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try it.
Seems cool. Is this you?
Yeah. Consumed by greed.
Those squirrels.
1 and 2 black. Yeah. Instant, gift a card. Target opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures they control. If the gift was promised, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand.
Ooh.
Interesting.
At instant speed.
At instant speed.
I could see using that gift.
I could actually gift. I'll give this gift.
You give this gift? Yeah, I could see giving this gift. Also, them
sacrificing their greatest power creature.
Yeah, that's already good. It's already good.
That's already good.
At instant speed,
need the gift to be good. Yeah, I like this. Is this a B? Is it that good?
I don't know. The double black probably keeps it from being a straight up B. I would say it's probably a B minus just because it's double black. And at 3. So you have to be pretty heavy black. But yeah, I love the modality of like early, mid, it's just getting their best thing. And then late, it's getting their best thing, re-getting your best thing, and hoping they draw a land off of your best thing out of your graveyard. And the fact that it's an instant, you can then immediately develop your best thing. So like, if you have like 1 or 2 bombs, if you have the calamity or whatever, the owl calamity, then you're very happy to give them a card for that. But yeah, I think this is like a B minus.
Yeah.
And if you have no bombs, it's probably a little worse. Right. Daggerfang Duo, 2 and a black for a rat squirrel, 3/2 death touch. When it enters, you may mill 2. Here's the quintessential get my graveyard full, and it's a death touch. So like a 3/2 death touch for 3 is probably like a C to C minus. It's like decently aggressive, extremely good defense. If you have bite effects in green, obviously that's just better. And then it's also happy to go to the graveyard. This is 3 cards towards threshold. Also, forage is 3 cards, right? Yeah, so this is like a full forage itself when it dies.
Yep.
I think this is like a C.
Yeah.
Maybe a C plus if you really
it's a C plus in a lot of those decks.
I think
exactly where it's going.
Yeah, I think it's a C, but you might want it more than that. I think it's a C, but you might want it more than that in pack 3, right? When you're like, here it is.
Sure.
Here it is.
Yeah.
And maybe you pick up 3 of them because no one's in the archetype, and you're like, nice. All right, you're good.
Dire Sight. 2 and a black for a sorcery. Surveil 2, then draw 2 cards. You lose 2 life. So there's your life loss.
That's true.
White black.
Yep.
Surveils 2, and it's drawing you 2 cards. So I think this is pretty good. I
Yeah,
mean, also it works towards all the things we were just talking about. It works in blue black. It works in green black. It works in white black.
yeah.
With all
Let
the synergy we're trying to do.
probably less in blue black, but um, it's more what because like green cares more about things being in
Wait,
the
was it
graveyard,
threshold?
huh?
Threshold is threshold.
Is
A
is
lot of
green
the
black? I thought
well, no, it's more blue black
it was
because
more
it's
blue
all the
black.
rat.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been more blue black
Well, we haven't seen
previously.
green yet, but um,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, fair. I mean, then foraging, surveilling works with foraging too. So, yeah, I think this is better than normal. So maybe
for sure.
it could be
It's a
like
C to
even
C plus.
it could be C plus if you're really wanting what it does.
Yep.
Downwind Ambusher. This is an exciting mana cost. 3 and a black for a 4/2 flash. When it ETBs, either target creature an opponent controls gets -1/-1 until end of turn, or you
Yep.
destroy
I've seen
target
this.
creature an opponent controls that was dealt damage this turn. Oh, neat. So it does that typical. What I guess most typically this is a 3/1 flyer for 4, right? That does this on ETB. Just the last one, flash flyer, 3/1 flash flyer for 4. That's generally pretty good. So you're taking away my flying, and you're giving me +1/+1, and you're giving me the extra modality of being able to just,
-1/-1.
which can just win combat straight up,
Yeah.
which I
So
think this
I
makes this
really
good.
like this.
Yeah.
I really like this because the last one did not have the -1/-1 thing, but you can use that to like save your blocker.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can you can do a lot of stuff. You can use this as a
Yeah.
blocker to just win. Yeah, I think this is probably like a B minus,
Yeah.
maybe just a C plus because I mean it is just a 4/2 for 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could definitely be good.
I think it's a C plus, but
C
I
plus.
think it's very good.
Yeah. All right,
Oh my
you're good.
goodness.
No,
Oh
he's
my
he's gonna make
goodness.
it. He's gonna make it.
The climate change in the world suffered.
On the
uh,
nose,
yeah, just
a
a little bit.
little.
Early winter, 4 and a black for an instant. Exile target creature straight up, or
Yep.
target opponent exiles an enchantment they control.
um,
Okay. Uh, well, exiling target creature is pretty good.
that being 5 and
Cost
being
5.
instant, but it being an instant is like a
Yeah,
little better
yeah,
than normal.
yeah.
So this is like maybe a C, C to C
Yeah, it's
minus.
a C. It's a C.
C. Feed the cycle. All right, this better put stuff in the graveyard. 1 and a black
Yeah.
for an instant as an additional cost to cast this spell. Forage or pay black. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. So it does not actually feed the cycle.
No.
It consumes the cycle. It feeds the cycle for your opponent. So it's murder that
Yeah.
you can reduce a black mana of by foraging.
Yes.
This doesn't actually feel that great.
No. It's still murder,
It's still murder.
so it's a C plus.
Yeah, I'd actually go C to C plus. So murder has ironically been good the last 1 or 2 sets, but it had been bad for a while before then. Um, so
Why is that?
I'm tepid. It's just too slow.
I
And
don't
we've
know.
already
Removal's so good.
it is not it had not been because the sets were getting so fast, and we've seen that hexproof thing for 1 blue mana. So that's what I'm saying. Like you're
Yeah.
paying 3 for this, and they just hexproof it, and you're
Yeah,
losing the
that
game. Then
feels bad.
this, on the other hand,
Oh,
fell
fell.
1 and a
Fell
black.
them. 1 and a black.
Sorcery, destroy. This is me, right? Wasn't
Yeah.
this me?
Oh, you were
Oh,
the one.
it's you. It's you. I'm stealing it. Take it.
Yeah. It's just
What
fell
does
one
it
and a
do?
black.
What
Destroy
does it do?
destroy target creature. Sorcery.
Oh, really? Is that it? Is that it?
Yep.
With no drawback?
Zero drawbacks. Yeah. I mean,
Terror officially power crept out.
yeah. So C plus, C plus, C minus.
This is a B, maybe B plus.
It's a B.
I don't
It's
think
just it's removable.
this has never been printed before. This is like a high watermark of this effect in history.
Interesting.
There's never been an unconditional 1 in a black destroy target creature at sorcery. I don't think. You could argue there's some things that have been better than it, like Dismember. That's -5/-5 for 1 colorless is definitely better than this. But you're like, this is in the tier of like, what's the push off a cliff card or whatever. I don't remember the name of that card. It's like,
yeah.
yeah,
Fatal Push.
Fatal Push. Yeah, it's like in that tier. It's like in the Dismember Fatal Push tier of removal spells. So it's like a B.
Also,
B plus.
go back up. So metal. When Glarb ordered the egg stolen, the Great Maha communicated its anger in a universal language. For anyone who hasn't seen the story, this sweet owl had its baby stolen, and she didn't fuck about when she found out.
yeah. Maha had a communication of anger.
Yeah. Go.
Glide Dive Duo. 4 and a black for a Bat Lizard 3/3. Flying, and when it enters, it drains for 2. They lose 2, and you gain 2 on a 3/3 flyer for 5. Huh. This has been a historical thing. So we've seen this. I think most commonly when this was good, this was on a 2 and 2 black 3/4 for 5 that didn't fly that did this, or maybe that was a 3 drain. And that card was pretty oppressive because I think it was 3. So it's like a 3/4 that drained for 3 for 5, but it was double black. So
in this white black, I think in red black with lizards, this is probably a C. But I think in white black, this is like white black bats. I think this is
it's a 5.
Like a C plus.
You playing one of these?
I'm playing one of these for sure. It's guaranteed proccing what.
But you're like
all the other effects.
Like I still
More
feel
light
this is like I still feel like this is like this is still like 10th or 11th pick.
Yeah. You're not. It's a common.
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I'm running one of them.
Yeah, but like a C plus, you're happy to like 3rd pick. So there's a question about like how good the card is, or like when are you actually. So that's what. Yeah, that's why like LSV and Marshall have been rating like any generic 5 or 6 drop much lower, because like you're never prioritizing these sort of cards, and that's what I'm saying. But that's why I was bringing up that 3/4 for 5 that I think drained 3. It actually did deserve higher priority. Because it ended up being, when you had multiples of them, it just became more and more oppressive. Because like they clog up the ground, and they're just like keep getting your opponent closer to dead. And I'm trying to figure out if this is good enough to also do that. And it maybe is, if you have enough energy. It's like maybe. So I would start this at like a D plus or C minus level, but monitor the genre, because if white black is good enough, you know, maybe this is actually like a legit C plus where you play 3 of these.
Yeah. Because if you're swinging, if you play 2 of these and you've swung 8 life, and proc hopefully your other synergy with that, that could be really, really strong.
So maybe you can play 3 of them and then they're a C plus, but I wouldn't bet on it.
Yeah.
Hazel's Nocturne. No, this is you.
Yeah, Hazel's Nocturne. 3 and a black instant. Return up to 2 target creatures from your graveyard to your hand. Each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life.
Wow. Instant.
Yeah, so this is good.
Instant. So normally these cost 3 with no extra upside, just 3 mana, get back 2 things. That's like mid, that's like a C minus. But it's normally also a sorcery. Probably be closer to a C if it was C to C plus if it was an instant for 3, which I think we've also seen. So this is costing 1 more, but is draining for 2.
You're returning 2 creatures. 2 of them.
It's really grindy.
I don't know.
Part of me,
if you're returning like the food creating person and I don't know, I think this is good.
I'm
I
just
think this
worried
is
if I just worried if you're trying to do this thing, you're just going to get run over and lose. But if you have some way, I mean, this is an insane card. If you're grindy, just period, it's an insane card.
yeah.
So, if you are really defensive and can make this work, it'll probably play like a C plus to B minus. But
Hmm.
I'm just worried about you doing this thing and losing the game immediately. So I'm probably not doing it. But again, you can maybe. I mean, we've seen like this is very much like this card. It's like, man, if you can get
Yeah, yeah,
there,
yeah.
critical mass will be brutal. All right,
And you're just
Husk.
constantly draining life.
Yeah, Burster Swarm. This is art. 7 and a black for an elemental insect uncommon 6/6. Costs 1 less to cast for each creature you own in exile and in your graveyard. It has Menace Death Touch. So let's say reasonably you have 3 things. Then it is a 5 mana 6/6 mana death touch for on turn 5. So that's like decent.
Yeah.
Minga's back. He must have
Hi,
done
everybody.
terrible because it's very early.
What? No. We got 10th.
10th.
2s are bullshit. Dog shit.
Yeah, best of 2.
I'll tell you about it later.
Okay, yeah. So at 5, this is like decent. You're almost never getting this for 4, right? It would be you'd have to loot her on 2, loot a creature into your graveyard. They kill your 2-drop. They kill the looter. You play a 3-drop. They kill the 3-drop. It still costs 5. So you're like never playing this on turn 4. It's very unlikely. So it's pretty mid, right? Is it being like earliest
Yeah.
reasonable scenario on 5? Does that get mitigated by it maybe costing 1 in like the very late game?
No, because then you have no cards in your hand anyway.
I guess if you're doing the reanimate grindy thing, that'd be pretty sick. It is getting creatures out of your graveyard, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
from what we just saw,
I
recurring
think
this
it's
would be
okay. Okay.
recurring
this
it
is
would be interesting.
I think it's a C because I'm not mad about having 1.
Yeah, maybe it's a C. Maybe it's a C plus if you have enough ways to get it back and are really filling up your graveyard.
Moonstone Harbinger, 2 and a black for a Bat Warrior 1/3, Flying Death Touch. Whenever you gain or lose life during your turn, bats you control get +1/+0 and gain Death Touch until end of turn. This ability triggers only once each turn. Huh.
And gain Death Touch.
And gain Death Touch.
But bats are like almost
They're
all
flyers
flying,
already.
right? They're almost always all flyers. It is just a 1/3 flying Death Touch for 3. That's already a C plus, so
Yeah.
I think that's probably a C plus.
I think it's still a C plus. Yeah, I don't.
I think it's still a C plus. I think it's a very solid C plus though, because like this could just get 3 additional points of damage through and just win you the game.
Sure.
And it automatically triggers with the. It makes that 2/3 a 3/3 guaranteed trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think this is pretty good actually. It could actually be like a B minus, but you're really in white black bats.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. All right, Nocturnal Hunger, 2 and a black for an instant gift of food. Destroy target creature. If the gift wasn't promised, you lose 2 life. So, either they gain 3 life and potentially get a free forage, and you destroy a creature, or you destroy a creature and lose 2 life for 3 at instant speed. This is like a B minus, right?
Yeah.
Seems good. Good removal. Maybe C plus if the format's really fast, but probably a B minus. You're good.
Persistent Marsh Stalker, 1 and a black for a Rat Berserker. It's a 3/1. Persistent Marsh Stalker gets +1/+0 for each other rat you control. Threshold. Oh, that's a lot. Whenever you attack with 1 or more rats, if 7 or more cards are in your graveyard, you may pay 2 and a black. If you do, return Persistent Marstalker from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped and attacking. Whoa.
So this thing's like a 5/1 for 2, basically, if you're doing the rat thing.
Yeah, holy shit.
This card seems good.
Yeah, this card is good for sure.
Yeah. How good? B minus?
I think this card is
C
a
plus?
B minus, but I think I'm just so unconvinced by Threshold and Rats so far that I'm like,
It's got the looter. It's got the looter.
yeah, it does.
And it keeps coming back. Like you can
And the
you
looter
can,
is nuts.
and you can comfortably loot this into your graveyard and be like, we'll get
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, I mean, if you really hit with the rats, like if you can get 2 of those looters, oh boy.
But like a 3/1 for 2, and this isn't really even a 3/1 for 2. Like you would say, almost all the time, it's like a 4/1. Not all the time,
Yeah.
but like a 4/1
of
for
the
2 is like a C plus by itself.
Yeah.
But it also does. Oh yeah, I can get bigger from there. Like imagine you give this thing. There's the frog that can make this unblockable too, right? Remember the in blue black, you can play that the
But
frog.
you don't even care because this is probably trading off with whatever's blocking it, and then you just get it back next turn anyway.
I'd say it could just hit for 6 unblockable. I guess like it can very realistically get to 6.
Yeah, for sure.
I think this is like a B minus to a B even. I like it.
I agree. The card itself is very good.
It's cool. Look at this art. My God.
Oh my God.
Who is this guy? This
What
guy's
is
showing
even
off.
happening? Yeah. Woo! More of this, please.
Yep, it's you.
Is it?
I think so.
2 and a black for a sorcery. Target opponent discards 2 cards. Then, if you control a rat, surveil 2.
With the class that forces discards, this one's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Surveilling 2.
They're fast.
Surveilling 2 is pretty good. So it's Mind Rot, which is like a D plus, C minus. If you have other build around discards energies, like we mentioned in that class, if you have a bunch of rats and can very consistently get the Surveil 2, maybe it's like a C. Maybe it's even a C plus if you're doing both of those.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. If you're hard into that whole Rats Threshold thing, that card is definitely a C plus.
Yeah, I can maybe get there. Ravine Raider, 1 black for a Lizard Rogue, 1/1 Menace. Alright. And for 1 and a black, he gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Threat of activation on a 1/1 Menace for 1. This has problematic potential.
Yeah.
In
late game, it's an issue.
It can proc opponent life loss pretty easily. Yeah, it's never fun blocking this thing with threat of activation. The threat of activation is pretty significant. I mean, 2 mana, so like it stops being a huge issue because I think on turn 4 you can attack with this, and like if they have 2 2/2s, they can still just block it. So like threat of activation, it's still just trading with a 2/2, right? Because it's still dying to 2 2/2s blocking it. It's only killing one of them, so it's not like broken.
Yeah.
But I would start this off at like a C. If you have like a lot of life loss, opponent's energies, maybe combat tricks as well. I don't know. I don't think this is broken. I think it's like a C, but I think it's playable.
Yeah. Ruthless Negotiator, or Ruthless Negotiation. 1 black for a sorcery. Target opponent exiles a card from their hand. If the spell was cast from your graveyard, draw a card. Interesting.
Yeah, so at first when I read this card, I was like, oh my god. And then I thought about it, I was like, nah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't think it's great. I would love to see someone just really go hard though into the like forcing them to discard and playing that class.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I would love to be in a draft where somehow I get like 3 of those classes.
Yeah. It's so
And I'm
expensive.
just
It's a 6 mana 2-for-1, right? A 6 mana
yeah.
2-for-1. No, it's a 6 mana 2-for-0.
Yes. Yeah, because it's replacing itself.
Yeah, 6 mana 2-for-0.
I think in certain decks it could be playable, but otherwise it's not.
Yeah, I generally would say don't take this. It's like a D, but
I think this is a D, maybe a C.
and you have to be really grindy. It takes a long time for you to get any advantage out of it. It does at least 1-for-1 immediately. Saver. It's you, right?
No, it's you. I just
Oh.
took that one.
1 and a black for an instant. Target creature gets -2/-2 and end of turn, and you get a food because you're eating that sweet little squirrel that's yelling at you.
Edibility is in the eye of the beholder.
It's pretty funny. So how good is this? This is like a C plus, right?
Yeah.
It's -2/-2, so it's like a combat trick. Ideally you like -3/-3 for 2, but normally that comes at sorcery. Very rarely is that an instant. Sometimes it's an instant with additional upside. I think we saw that with Candy Grapple. Isn't this just the worst Candy Grapple? I think Candy Grapple was 1 and a black, -3/-3, make a food at instant.
Yeah, but that card was too good.
That card was very good, and it was a common as well. So, reverse power crept Candy Grapple. Still probably like a C plus though.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, you're good.
Scales of Shale. 2 and a black for an instant. Costs 1 less for each lizard you control. Target creature gets +2/+0 and gains lifelink and indestructible until end of turn.
For each lizard you control is interesting.
Each lizard. Yeah, so this could be +2/+0 lifelink indestructible for 1.
Yep.
Pretty easily too.
Not that easily. For two mana.
Lizard.
2 mana is like par for this ability, kind of, right?
Yeah.
2 mana is where we normally get this. At 1 mana, it is. So at 1 mana, this card is very good. And it is frightening that it can only be 1 mana. Like, you're feeling terrible if your opponents have 2 lizards in play and 1 black up. You're like.
Yeah. you're stressed.
Yeah. C to C plus.
It's a C to C plus, but I mean that's all assuming you're in lizards, right?
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, I mean.
This is a D- if you're not in lizards.
Yeah, if you're not in lizards at all, like what's the like? If you have 5 lizards, it's a C. If you have 8 to 10 lizards, it's a C plus.
Yeah.
Something like that. I'm just cranking through these. Sinister Monolith. 3 and a black for an artifact. Here it is. This is what I've been mentioning. Normally this is an enchantment.
Yeah.
But at the beginning of combat on your turn, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. But there's more. Tap, pay 2, and sack it to draw 2. Activate only as a sorcery. That's interesting, because normally this is your endgame grindy option. So you're normally not sacking this. But I guess the idea is like, it's like almost kind of like a buyout clause. If this isn't going to get you to the promised land for some reason, you can dig to try to find removal or something that you need. Which is certainly upside. It's not like that much better. But I think this is probably like a C plus.
Yeah, I honestly think this card is a C because it costs 4 and swings 2 life. But I think in the right deck, it's for sure a C plus.
I think maybe it being an uncommon actually makes it worse here because typically this effect is good if you can get like 2 or 3 of them going. Then you just dirtle and like that's your game plan. Like there was a set, maybe it was Ravnica or whatever. It was like. It was the best one of these we saw was like Ill-Gotten Gains or something, where you could pay 5 and a black to sack them to drain 2 more. So, like, you would just, like, play 2 of them. They'd be draining. And then when you get them close to dying, you're just, like, sack 1. At the end of your turn, at the start of my turn, sack the other one to get you for 4 more. So this isn't as good as that. So, yeah, you're probably right. It might just be a C. But maybe a C plus if you're really into those things. Look at this art. Look at it. Behold it.
Oh,
all right.
sweetness.
Here we go.
Stargaze. X and 2 black for a sorcery. Look at twice X cards from the top of your library. Put X cards from among them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. You lose X life. Twice X.
Alright, so let's do 3. Because 5 mana is normally where you should evaluate cards like this. So
yeah.
Look at 6. Take 3, lose 3. So draw 3 out of 6, lose 3 for 5. Mid. Look at 4. 4, draw 2, lose 2. So blue at instant speed is like Memory Deluge, right? Memory Deluge, 2 and 2 blue. Look at the top 4, pick 2. No downside, instant. It's rare. This is not great. You like it? It does lose you life.
It does lose you life. I think this. So I think this is good, much better in like what we've been talking about, this dirtily style of play, where like you've just been draining them the whole game. Now you're filling your hand back up and putting things in your graveyard, which you might care about.
It is kind of neat how it synergizes with like gaining life, because that deck cares about gaining life and losing life, and then if you're gaining life, you don't care about the loss of life here as much.
Yeah,
and if you do cast this for 6, like then you're looking at 8, drawing 4, losing 4. That probably wins you the game, assuming you haven't already lost. You're still like at most playing one of these, and I'm still not really taking this early. Like I would have to have a completely set deck in this archetype, and it's pack 3, and then maybe I'm okay like third picking it, because I'm just like one of these is huge.
I think this is like a D to C.
C, yeah, that's I would agree. C, basically at the high end. Right, Starlit Soothsayer, 2 and a black for a 2/2 flyer. Windrake. At the beginning of your end step, if you gained or lost life, you surveil 1. That's pretty good. Surveilling 1 for 0 mana on end step if you gain or lost life. It's like a C, right? It's like a C.
C.
Maybe it's like a C plus if you're really into that, or maybe you'll take it a little earlier. It's just a C.
Yeah.
All right.
Starscape Cleric.
This one's probably
1 and a
better.
black for a Bat Cleric 2/1. Has Offspring 2 and a black.
Here's the 5
Flying,
mana.
This creature can't be blocked.
It can't block.
Whenever you gain life.
It can't block.
Oh, can't block. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses a life.
2 of those is...
2 of those starts to be a problem.
Yeah. Again, this makes that 2/3 flyer better, because it can eat this.
I mean, in the deck that's doing this, like, this is a C+, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's an uncommon, so it's probably really strong. But yeah, this is very much telegraph bats. Bats almost feel like the most, like, centered archetype that we've seen so strong. Like, they care so much about gaining and losing life yourself.
Yeah.
And you kind of need a critical mass of them. Yeah, if you get a critical mass of them, it's going to be rough. Like, if you're paying this for 5, then attacking with that 2/3, you're gaining a life, your opponents are losing 2. Yeah, I mean, this feels like a C plus to... Or maybe it's like a C. Like, if you're not doing this at all, it's still probably just a C. If you are doing this, it's probably like a C plus to B minus. But not being able to block is a pretty big downside, especially with Offspring. Yeah. Thornplate Intimidator. 3 and a black for a 4/3. I feel like we've seen these too, like the 4-cost Zenergy cards. A lot of times like the duos, not the duo in this case. Just the Rat Rogue. 4/3 with Offspring 3 for 4, so that's 7 total. When it enters, target opponent loses 3 life unless they sacrifice a non-land permanent or discard a card. So a 4/3 for 4 that hits for 3 or makes or just eats something. It can just eat offspring.
For 7. Yeah, it can just eat offspring.
Yeah, for
Yeah, I don't
7
like
that's
this.
a GG. I still think it's okay. I still think this is like a C. I mean, it's a 4/3 for 4. You don't need
Like,
that much more.
I'm not saying
Yeah.
it's a D, but I think it's a D plus to a C.
I'll say the white one we've seen is still, I think, the best one. The 3/2 for 3 offspring 1. That when it ETBs, it pumps something 1/1 this turn.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
still like the best of this pseudo cycle, I feel.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this is like a C.
Yeah. Fair.
I mean, there are times where this thing with its offspring is just like a blowout. Like if your opponent has no cards in hand and like isn't feeling like losing life, and they're also not an offspring, which I know that's a lot of like
Also,
knots,
I mean,
but
even in the bats thing, this could be a pretty crazy finisher.
yeah, I think
You're just,
it's best in bats for
yeah,
sure.
because you've just been slowly draining them. They're at 6.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you're just
So they
like,
have to sacrifice something.
yeah, sacrifice 2 things or you lose right now.
Yeah. All right, you're good.
Thought Stalker Warlock. 2 and a black for a Lizard Warlock 2/2 with Menace. When Thought Stalker Warlock enters, choose target opponent. If they lost life this turn, they reveal their hand. You choose a non-land card from it and they discard that card. Otherwise, they discard a card. What?
This. If they lost life this turn, they reveal their hand. Oh. Oh yeah. People were talking about this card maybe being broken. So it's a 2/2 menace that if they've lost life, like in combat, it just thought seizes them for 0 mana. Otherwise, so the worst case scenario for this card is a 2/2 menace for 3 that 0 for 1s them on ETB. So think about how many like 1/1s for 2 that we've had that do that, right? Like all over the place, 1/1s for 2. Sometimes we've gotten 1/1s for 2 that flirt with kind of thought seizing your opponent on ETB, and those have been like extremely good. They've seen even some play in standard, or generally constructed. I think Pioneer as well. We've seen a couple of them in black. There's like a blood sucking something that does it. So this costs 1 more, but you're getting a 2/2 menace, and you have to do damage in order to actually get the thought seize. But I think the floor on this is a very strong C+. Just a 2/2 menace for 3 that 0 for 1s them. And it could, if you have 2/2 menaces or what have you, or something that can passively deal damage to them, and you're just getting their best card while playing a 2/2 menace for 3, that's insane. It's like a B.
Yeah. Yeah, this is brutal.
That's very good. Wix Patrol. 6 mana uncommon, 4 and 2 black. What is that? That's a rat warlock? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't understand exactly what it's writing there. It's a 5/3. It is a centipede, kind of. Yeah. It's a 5/3 for 6. When it enters mill 3, when you do, target creature gets -X until end of turn, where X is the greatest mana value among any card, not creatures, any card, in your graveyard.
Among cards.
Any card. Yeah. Among cards. It's just the greatest mana value among any card. Just not even just creature. So yeah, this is like a B. Probably.
Whoa. Yeah, this is brutal.
Yeah, the fact that it mills you 3 immediately, like this is also definitely a threshold activator. This is like
Holy shit.
all your little threshold payoffs. Here we come, turn 6. You're actually getting them. And then it's also probably just 0 for 1ing something. Just, it's almost certainly killing something. The cool thing is that notice it says mill 3, and then it says when you do target creature. So I'm pretty sure
the mills 3.
Yes.
And
then you have to choose a target. The fact that you have to choose the target after seeing what's getting milled is very important, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise you don't know what you might have. But ideally you'd want to have like a 3 or 4 drop there already, right? So you know what your downside risk is.
For sure.
Although also when you're at 6, if you milled 3 lands, you probably don't hate that either. So yeah, I think this is just a solid B, and is maybe even better. Also, by the way, this is blinkable. Ooh, ooh, oh man!
Yeah, that could be an issue.
Remember that the 1 mana blue blink? I'm pretty sure it can blink rats because rats are blue.
Yeah, it did say rats for sure.
That
There's like
that
rat otters, frogs.
that is a
There's another one too.
massive beating. That is a bonkers beating.
It's a game winner.
Yeah. So yeah, I think this is a solid B and can go up from there. This is one of the best of these sort of things that we've seen. It's like there's the Tusker. So remember that Centipede that I was higher on than you that actually did end up being in the meta.
It ended up being very good. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a 6/2 for 6 that gave -2/2 on ETB. Right, but it had flash. It had flash.
Yeah.
But this is a 5/3 for 6. You could argue a 5/3 is probably better than a 6/2, but can get much bigger than -2/2.